Hello. In this training demo, we will be understanding the EDISHERE Collaborator application and its features. To begin with, the collaborator actually allows you to establish a relationship between your two partners, that is, to configure your trading partner agreement. Typically, the trading partner agreement information would be required for you to configure the envelope level informations in case you need to generate an EDI file. For example, if it's an XML file, then XML has the control envelope which needs information related to the interchange control, the interchange receiver ID, the interchange sender ID, the time and the date when the interchange was transmitted, and all these information. Further, you have the functional group information like the functional group sender ID, the receiver ID, followed by the actual message which we have mapped through our message-to-message mapping. EDISHERE expects a one-time configuration of these information via the trading partner agreement, wherein the EDISHERE UI accepts information that has to be transmitted into the EDI file from the trading partner agreement. For example, this is a case of an X12 envelope file. Similarly, in case of an EDI fact envelope file, we have the UNB interchange, wherein you need to feed in the data for the sender, the receiver, and similarly the functional group information, following which the actual message starts within the UNH. All these information can be configured one time in EDISHERE's trading partner agreement. In other words, if we just need to understand how it would look like, so if this is the input flat file that is coming in, and this is the expected output EDI file. So if it's a case of a nested sequential flat file to an EDI file, these two segments, for example, ISA is the interchange header segment and GSS is the functional group segment. So information pertaining to the interchange sender ID, the interchange receiver ID, and all these elements data would be coming in from EDISHERE's trading partner agreement. Similarly, if we see the case of the ABC to XYZ EDI fact case that we had been creating till now, the UNA header, the UNB, if you see this is the sender ID ABC and the XYZ, the UNG, these information will be picked up from the trading partner agreement, and only after that the actual mapping of the message to message, the mapping that we had performed starting from UNH BGM segments would occur. Users also have an option to create their own user-defined envelopes, in which case if it's a non-EDI standard, user would be creating envelopes similar to the control envelope layouts of EDI Fact or X12, in which case also the trading partner agreement related information would accept required values and generate the required output. So let us understand how we configure this information in Collaborator. So we start the Collaborator application. This would be the active tenant ID that will be open for us. So if my partner is ABC, I would first configure both my partners ABC and XYZ, following which the partner who is going to be the sender, we'll be creating an agreement under him. So if ABC is the partner who's going to be sending the orders, so we select partner and we could either select create agreement or select the toolbar button for add agreement. An empty agreement dialog box would be open, which would accept information. First would be the unique identification name for the agreement. So we would specify the name. So this is the agreement between ABC and XYZ. Next, it would accept the translation type, whether your source is an EDI and the destination is an EDI, or source EDI and destination user defined, source user defined to destination EDI, or user defined to user defined. So in our sample example that we have picked up of an ABC nested sequential layout being converted into an EDI fact layout, we would select the translation type as user defined to EDI. Following that, it would expect the destination standard, In our case, it is the UN EDI fact, EDI standard. All this information with respect to the UNB segments, and that is the interchange related elements data and the functional group related data, would be decided between you and the partner, and information needs to be fed in accordingly. So let me just feed in the information as per what I have with me. The password qualifier. So I would first apply the information that I have specified in the first page. Then I move on to the envelope information, that is the functional group information. I specify the direction, whether it is an outbound agreement or an inbound agreement. So if it's a nested sequential orders going out to the partner in an EDI format, it's an outbound direction. Again, I would specify my functional group sender ID, my functional group sender qualifier. The interchange receiver ID can be picked up from the list. Specify the interchange receiver qualifier, followed by the functional receiver ID and the functional receiver qualifier. Apply the changes. Now move on to the detailed message information, wherein I specify that this is an UN EDI fact orders message. My message type could be data message or acknowledgement message. So if it is a case wherein I have already received an inbound message and an outbound acknowledgement is to be sent, I might select the option as ACK message. By default, it would be a data message. Following that, I would specify the application reference. So in my case, it is the orders purchase order. The controlling agency, now coming over to the standard information related to the version release industry code. So information that I have, I can feed in. If I don't have, I can leave it blank. Finally, I come on to the extended page where I specify the segment terminator, that is the destination separator information. So in cases of nested sequential file being generated, normally this information is picked up from the layout that we have created. However, when it's an EDI file that is going to get generated, this information is picked up from the agreement that is established. So whatever information we specify here is what will be applicable, and these will be the actual segment terminators and data element separators that would be generated in the output file. So my segment terminator could be a pipeline. My data element separator could be an asterisk mark. The component data element could be a colon. The release indicator could be a question mark. The decimal code could be a dot or a comma. So I specify rest of the information, whether I need an acknowledgement to be sent back from my partner, whether it's a test file or not. So in case I do not have the information, I can always leave it empty. Following this is the key aspect of any agreement configuration, that is the workflow configuration. The workflow is the main thing that routes the whole translation process when a file comes in. Firstly, translator would identify the file using the source file identification rule that will be configured for it, after which the agreement takes over the whole translation process. It is the agreement which identifies the file and decides against which layout the file is to be analyzed, what is the mapping to be used, where is the file to be outputted, and to which partner is it to be sent across. All this information can be configured over the workflow. The workflow configuration is started off by saying add. The first work that is added is the analyze E1M1, which means analyzing the source data, wherein we specify that if this is the file coming in, which is the layout against which we need to analyze the layout. So to begin with, my case is the ABC orders. So my ABC orders nested sequential layout is to be analyzed against the data file. Following that, I would specify the folder in which I would want my analyze messages to be present in the translator UI, which would be inbox by default. Following this, my second work would be mapping. In cases when an EDI file is to be outputted, there is a situation where we need two kinds of mapping. One is the message to message mapping that we had created. Another is the agreement to envelope mapping. Agreement to envelope mapping would actually map the trading partner information related to the ISA, the interchange headers, the sender receiver IDs. Similarly, in case of EDIFACT, the EDIFACT information, the sender information, to the envelope, the control layout that is attached with the message. For this, we would typically use the existing EDISHERE provided system map file, unless and until you would need any customization. EDISHERE provides these map files. For example, the TPI to EDIFACT control lay is shipped ready-made with EDISHERE, which does the mapping of the trading partner information fields with the respective EDIFACT fields automatically. So this map file can be picked up. Similarly, we have it for X12, that is X12 TPI to control envelope. In case you need to deviate from what EDISHERE has already provided in the map files, you can always perform a save as and use your own map file. So in our case, we'll use a TPI to EDIFACT control map, which is the agreement to envelope mapping, following which we would select the map message to message map, which is the map file that we have created between ABC and XYZ, mapping the message part of it, that is starting from the UNG and the BGM segments, following which we would specify the location, the output location and the output file name format. This is specified for the work generate E2M2, wherein the current work is generate destination data. Here again we would specify the folder as outbox, that is if the output message is to be stored in such and such folder. Here we would specify the file name pattern and the output location. So the path I would like to specify is outgoing. So this would be the folder where my output files would get generated. Following which I would create a file info ID for my ABC orders, wherein I say specify file name pattern, and here I would say that all my output files should start with the name ABCXYZ, followed with today's date, today's time, and also if possible with the unique tag. So what we have configured is the output location, the output file name. There are other options as to use the name as it is or not use any format at all. Or if you want to further customize it, you can always use expression builder at the implemented level and set the output file name during the analysis state itself. We specify OK and select the file that we have, file name specification that we have specified, and press OK. Finally we say add work finish. So at the end of it, what you've done is we have established a trading partner agreement between the partners ABC and XYZ. This workflow has done till the effect that it analyzes the file, maps the agreement to the envelope to generate the control part of the file. It maps the message to message to generate the message part of the file. Following that, it specifies the location and the file name with which the file is to be generated. And finally it says work finish. Now in case we would want to configure the communication also to be done at the agreement level itself, we would need two more steps to be done. That is, first is set ready to send, which means that once my output file has been generated, it is ready to send, following which I would say that I would want my destination to be transmitted across to such and such location. So here I can specify that I want it to be transmitted over an FTP, an email, a directory, or over a web service. So I would want my output to go to a directory, say 101xyz upload. I would configure it here. And these output files, once they have been sent, that is transmitted across to the required location, would go to the sent items folder by default. So I would just say that after this, do a transmission of the file, and finally do a work finish. So this is a wholesome agreement which has not only generated the file but also configured the output to be sent across. Now let us test this particular case using simulator. So once your agreement is ready, we are in a situation wherein we can actually test out if our implementation is working fine. So for testing it, we'll use the simulator feature, which is to be invoked from implementer. I would open my map file abcxyz, say simulate, select nested sequential,